Hello, I'm Dr. Sunny. Welcome to a special edition of Rise and Shine with Dr. Sunny Fridge. It's been an amazing 2 months since joining this season's team of broadcasters with WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. I've had some inspiring guests since my first show in September. As you know, I believe God's gift to us is life, and our gift to Him is how we live our lives. This special edition of Rise and Shine again with Dr. Sunny is an opportunity for me to bring you highlights from our first 6 guests who are living their dreams. They've shared how they've turned their setbacks into comebacks, made their faith bigger than their fear, and they live life with purpose, passion, and prosperity. Each of my shows has a title. My first title, my first show, There is a Voice of Hope for Caregivers. I shared a quote by First Lady Rosalind Carter, who said, "There are only 4 kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers." My first guest was Dr. Heather Tucker, the founder and CEO of Another Level Living, Inc. It's a professional training and coaching company. She is the wife of a Purple Heart Marine Corps veteran. She loves being a new mom. Her husband suffers with heart disease and combat post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, and is the reason for her season of caregiving. She was also the lead collaborator of the book, The Voice of Hope, Inspiring Untold Stories for Caregivers. It was a book collaboration by 12 authors, including me.
When my husband he had several heart attacks. He's almost died a couple of times. And it was like this big wake-up call that life is too short. We only have so much time. And, if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? When is this message going to be out there? When is it going to be where we can be able to share that inspiration and that hope for those who are suffering in this? Because a lot of caregiving, what happens is it's easy for people to lose themselves. It's easy for them to be able to come overwhelmed, stressed out, not sure which way to go, have no clue who to be able to connect to. And that was really the motivation behind it, to just let people know that they're not alone and that there's a whole group of people who are in this battle. And not only just in the battle of caregiving, but one of the things we also touch on in the book is that the source to be able to, sometimes when we're caregiving, like for me, it's hard to be able to have a full-time job working for someone else, specifically because I need to be able to be here and just in case there's any episodes or triggers or anything. So entrepreneurship was a perfect avenue to be able to talk about and address as well, to let people know that you can be able to have financial freedom or be on that journey to financial freedom and be there for your family.
Also on the first show, my inspiration for being a co-author on the Voice of Hope book project. In November 2018, my sweet sister Michelle Chance Haynes suffered the symptoms of a stroke while she and I were on a FaceTime call together. In the book, I describe how she told me she had a headache and had taken an aspirin, but she got stuck on repeating one word and her head was moving from side to side. It was a really scary moment, and I shared what it took to get her medical assistance since she was in New York and I was 1,000 miles away in Mississippi. Even though miles separate us, I'm blessed to be part of her caregiving team. Michelle shared how she's doing now and how her faith in God has kept her throughout her journey. How has this illness, because you suffer both from a stroke as well as heart disease, how has it changed your life? Because in the book, you talk about it being your new normal.
Well, my new normal is taking the medication at specified times by the doctors. Also during that time, they felt to make sure that this doesn't happen to me again, to try to prevent a heart attack or a stroke. They inserted a device called a loop recorder. So I have that they're monitoring me. I have an electrophysiologist who handles the device monitoring. I was assigned a caseworker around a month ago, so they still have people checking in on me.
And how has your faith impacted your recovery?
Well, I know that God is great. I know that He is a healer. And so I do have the Gideonites Prayer Ministry who are constantly praying for me in season and out of season. I have my pastor, Reverend Victor Tyrone Hall Sr. from Calvary Church, who always is placing a text or he checks on me. And when I do come to church service, because there was a while I wasn't going to church, when I was there, he would make mention, he was glad to see our prayer lady, which he nicknamed me there. So just keeping the faith and knowing that what God has done before, that He's a healer, He's a way maker, He's my light in the darkness. I know who He is, and I know if I just hold on to that and keep the faith, that things will turn around. So whether this is my new normal, then God creates all things new, because that's what the Word of God says. And so there's times when I get a little dismayed, because I am, or was right now, I'm on leave as the leader of the prayer ministry, even though they do call me as an advisor from time to time. I just know that God continues to uphold me with His right hand of righteousness. And so I may get dismayed from time to time, all those times that I prayed for so many others, and I know the Word of God, but sometimes you could waver in your faith a little bit. So I think of the word that comes out of the book of Mark 9, verse 23 through 25, that says, God, I believe, but help my unbelief. Because sometimes, even though this isn't as bad as how others have, I'm used to being on the go. And sometimes it has slowed me down, and I can't do some of the things that I'm used to doing. And so I have to think of all those things that led up to the stroke, because there were several warning signs, which I kind of ignored. And then once I had the stroke, I did a lot of research on the internet and looking up the symptoms. And every time the doctors would diagnose me for certain things regarding my heart or this stroke that I had, the TIA, then I would just Google it just to find out more and more and more and see what I could do.
My second show, Speak and Be You. In August, my guest, Erin Beverly, won the 2019 Toastmasters International World Championship of Public Speaking. To achieve this, Erin had to rise and outshine 30,000 participants from 143 countries over 6 months to get to the finals. His speech was titled, An Unbelievable Story. And I watched at the Toastmasters International Convention when you won, and then I also read articles, and one of the articles had a comment from Ed Tate, who is the 2000 World Champion of Public Speaking, and here's what he had to say about your win. Erin Beverly's speech was brilliant and had all the elements of a spy movie. It included setups and payoffs and had the following elements: espionage, intrigue, danger, drama, and deception. And I just want to commend you on how you just had such an entertaining and suspenseful speech.
Yes, thank you very, very much. It's something that I wanted to incorporate because the topic itself dealt with race, which can be a touchy subject. And with that, I wanted to make sure that it was colorful and that it was entertaining so that you don't necessarily concentrate on the concept of race, even though that is the main message. The fun of it, I wanted to come out more than the heaviness of it.
Then the ominous smiler pounces. She starts pulling my arm. Sunit joins her. 2 versus 1. They pull, I pull, but I hold firm. The other bridesmaids run over. 5 versus 1. They pull, I pull, but I hold firm. The other groomsmen run over. I think, yes, the cavalry has arrived. But they joined the bridesmaids. 8 versus 1. They pull, I pull, but I hold firm because when I have a mission, I take it very seriously. They said, Erin, just give us the shoes. I said, never!
Now, you know, another element that I believe you had, what we call in Toastmasters, is the wow factor. I love what communications expert Nancy Duarte has said, and she says, personal stories are the emotional glue that connect your audience with your message. And you wowed the crowd of Toastmasters members from around the world. Tell me more about your message that you wanted to leave the audience with.
Acceptance despite difference. Again, I was traveling to India. I was there amongst white and Indian families, and I felt different. At times I felt uncomfortable, but it wasn't because of them. And that's what I learned. Both sides of these families are accepting me, not because I look like them, but they're accepting me just as a person. So even though we have differences, we can still accept one another.
We experience so much divisiveness nowadays that acceptance despite difference seems unbelievable. But there are people who still believe in it. Do you? Open your culture, your mind, your heart to people who are different from you. Show the world that acceptance, despite difference, is not an unbelievable story. This is your mission. Take it very seriously. Contest chair.
Show number 3 and 4 was From Rags to Riches, A True Story. It was a captivating interview with entrepreneur, speaker, and author Jeanhee Kang. She was the oldest of 5 children born to poor rice farmers in South Korea who never gave up on her dream to get a high school education. In part 1 of my interview with motivational speaker and author Jeanhee Kang, growing up hungry and poor in South Korea.
My primary goal when I wake up was find something to eat because what Mama gave us was just not enough.
And how the success of the village dam keeper inspired her to chase her dream.
I have to get out of this small, poor rice farming village to go to high school.
At 16, she lost her virginity, got pregnant, and had an abortion. She was kicked out of high school for breaking these cultural taboos and forced to make a difficult decision.
I had 2 choices, either drink rat poison to die or disappear from whole entire village and never come back. And I know a lot of girls kill themselves for shame, but I wasn't gonna kill myself. I chose to go somewhere and never come back. I ran away and went to GI town, 4 hours away from my home. And I stole money to buy one-way ticket to get there. And I sold myself to brothel to sell my life, my soul, to earn that chance to go to America, to go to high school.
She would meet a young soldier. They married 6 months later.
And he was still in the Air Force. He could not come to America yet. He had to finish his tour. And I begged him, just like I did beg my mom when I was 5 years old to send me to high school. I begged him to send me to America. I want to go to high school. I want to go to high school. And he figured out I was never going to stop begging. And he found some money to pay for a plane ticket to send me to his mother's house.
With $40 in her pocket, she would finally get a chance to come to America in 1975 to live her dream.
When I came to America, within 12 hours, I believe, the next morning when I woke up, I had all these things in my bag, and I remember asking my mother-in-law, send me to high school, and she was shocked, and says, aren't you tired? No, not tired. So she registered me to 11th grade and didn't speak a word of English, but I could understand a little bit. And I remember I was in the wrong page every time, and teachers come and find the right pages. But, when I got to the 11th grade classroom, I said, watch me. Korean people. Koreans, I'm here. I made it. We're so happy. So happy.
The details of her captivating journey from a street peddler to a multi-million-dollar business owner are in her memoir, Miguk, Dry Bones. Show number 5, A Second Chance at Life. My guest was a multi-million-dollar executive and recording artist, and then she died, but lived to tell about it. Tonya Ware, executive pastor of the Church Triumphant Global in Jackson, Mississippi, shared how she turned her setback from a heart attack and death into a comeback and a second chance at life.
I had never been sick before, and like most women, I was just trying to live my dream and make my dream. So I was burning the candle at both ends. I was working a full-time job and then doing music and singing and ministry in the evenings and weekends. And I knew I needed to rest and better manage my time. But you know how it is when you're trying to get to a certain place in life and society has told you that to be successful, you have to have certain things. And I was just working, and I walked into my master bathroom one day in December 2006, collapsed with cardiac arrest. My heart stopped beating. I died in my master bathroom. I was blessed to be living with Ware, my husband, who prayed his strongest prayer he could pray that day and asked God to please give me another chance. And he rebuked the spirit of death, premature death, and called me back to life. But I was very, very sick and spent the next almost 7 years permanently disabled and living a life where I was existing, but I wasn't really living.
During your despair, you had an aha moment thanks to an interview on the Oprah Winfrey Show.
I would stand in my shower with the water on and cry and say, Lord, please let me die, because I felt like I was a burden on my family. My husband was caring for me and trying to pastor a church and take care of our daughter Wisdom. And I just, I was living in a fog. You know, my days were cloudy even when it was sunny outside. And I just went into his office one day. He said, I want you to see something. And in this interview, Oprah Winfrey is talking to LL Cool J, and she says to him, what do you do when you have all these plans for your life, these things that you know you're going to do, this greatness that you're going to live in, but something happens, trauma happens, life happens, and it doesn't manifest? What do you do? He said, dreams don't have deadlines. And it was that one phrase, dreams don't have deadlines, that really sparked something in me that day. I grabbed my iPhone and wrote it down. I started journaling. The journal turned into a book, which I launched in 2015 with actor Hill Harper and music phenomenon, Music Soul Child in Birmingham, Alabama. And what I made a decision to do when I heard that phrase was, if I live 2 minutes, 2 hours, 2 weeks, or 20 years, I'm going to live those minutes, those seconds to the fullest. And it started with me finding a picture of myself where I was healthy, putting it before my eyes. I started to change my confession. I created some affirmations. I started to, like I said, journal. I started watching the information that was going into my eye gate, my ear gate, and my heart gate. And I started to really, up to that point, my daily meditation was death. I feared I was going to die. I changed my meditation to being healthy and healed and whole and being happy and laughing and doing the things that I loved. And I couldn't do it yet, but I would imagine myself dancing around my house. And the first time I could walk from my bedroom to my bathroom and not lose my breath, I was like, oh my God, we're going to have a party. and what I really try to encourage, if I could be a mogul of anything, it would be a hope mogul. And that would be to just inspire people to have hope that things will change and get better if they just keep putting one step in front of the other.
Show number 6, God kept me, He's a keeper.
My. Wonderful. God is so wonderful.
Before there was American Idol, there was Star Search. And with his illustrious voice and smooth style, recording artist Beau captured the hearts of America in 1984 when he defeated 13-week Star Search champion Sam Harris. Beau took us down memory lane and relived that defining moment when he won. I grew up in the 80s watching that show, and I remember Sam Harris, and he was on for months.
13 weeks straight, yes.
And I remember you beating him. How did that opportunity come about?
I was already signed to Capitol Records at the time, and in passing, I would see the show, and they got to the point where they said, well, Sam is good, but we want to see him against some strong competition, some real competition, because they thought the people that he was knocking off was not strong competition. And so the director had heard about me, and they actually contacted me and asked me what I consider being art. And so I said, well, yes, I just felt like God was opening that door for me. And so I went on, and at the rehearsal, I'll never forget, at the rehearsal, you was not supposed to see your opponent, what their performance. And so when Sam Harris, when he sang, I went outside, and when I was to sing, he had to go outside. But I could see him peeping through the crack of the door. And so I just kind of like a boxer, I just took a dive. I didn't hit any high notes or anything like that. And at the rehearsal, they say, yeah, he's good, but Sam will get him. Sam will get him. And so everybody was surprised when I got on television and started hitting all those high notes and falling on my knees.
I love you in a place where there's no space or time. I love you for my life. You're a friend of mine. And when my life is over, remember when we were together. We were alone. I was singing my song, but nobody but you and me. Oh yeah, I was singing for you.
Another tough night of competition. In this category, the judges give champion Sam Harris 3 3/4 stars. His challenger, Beau Williams, receives 3 3/4 stars. We have a tie. Congratulations. See you later. Woo. Oh. Keep trying to do this to me, don't you? Want me to have a cardiac arrest? All right. Here we go. Again, we have Sam Harris, his challenger, Beau Williams, who did a wonderful job tonight. Beau, you really did. It was just good. All right. Tonight, we have a new champion, Beau Williams. Sam, see you on the semifinals, pal. Oh, woo! There it is, friends. Beau Williams.
Great strategy.
Yeah. I learned that through boxing, so it worked very well. Yeah, that was a very exciting time in my life.
Beau also shared his Grammy-nominated new CD featuring the Hamiltons.
Turn to your neighbor and say, my God, he kept me. My God, he kept me. Through dangers seen and unseen, through many toils and snares. I was never alone, for the Lord was right there. He never let me go. He didn't forget.
Plus, Dr. Beau and his wife, Dr. Elvina, shared how God has kept their marriage together for 46 years.
And, for making the marriage, people say, well, how do you guys stay together and love each other and celebrate each other like you do? I said, well, we practice the 3 C's, and that's communication. Communication is the life bloodline for every relationship.
And it brings about understanding.
Yes.
Just the way that couples would communicate before they got married, you must have communicated that.
Yes.
So after you get married, you don't stop. You continue to communicate your feelings with each other.
Yes.
And keep doing the same things you were doing before you got married. You know,
yes.
going out on a date.
Yes.
Out
Going
to
out
dinner.
to dinner. We go out to dinner a lot. Yeah. And then the other thing is compromise. A marriage is not one-sided. It can't just be your way or the highway. In other words, we have to compromise. And so we learn how to do that very well, to compromise. And then the third C is commitment. You married. You should be committed to each other. You married. So those are some ingredients that will really help your marriage.
That's all the time we have on this special edition of Rise and Shine Again. I've been so blessed by your emails, your texts, your calls, and comments on social media to let me know that you've been inspired by the stories of our guests. Part of my program's success is because of the tireless efforts of WYTV7 executive producer Libby Greer. Thank you, Miss Libby, for all you do in the production of our CBN broadcast ministries. And thank you, my listening and viewing audience, if you've already been led to make a donation. And if you haven't, please consider making a donation of any amount at WYTV7.org to help our CBN broadcasters continue to bring you programming that inspires, uplifts, and empowers. For more information, you can find me at sunnyfridge.com. Please like my Facebook page at facebook.com/iRiseAndShine. Or listen anytime to Rise and Shine podcast on iHeart, Spotify, and Google, to name a few. If you're not on social media, you can find all my shows and podcasts at WYTV7.org/rise-shine. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Sunny. Remember, it's your time to rise and shine.